Happy Monday one and all. I hope that your week is starting off tremendous. Today, of course, is Countdown Day here on the channel. And this week, kind of in conjunction with tformers.com, it was a suggestion put forth by them, as a matter of fact, and in celebration of the year anniversary of Daily Prime, which happened last week as of this recording, we're going to be looking at the top 10 versions across plastic, across fiction, in cartoon, in comic, wherever you like, the top 10 versions of Optimus Prime himself. And that's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all my social media links. They are all down in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. And this is a topic that was brought up because of the Daily Prime. If you haven't checked out the Daily Prime, check out the Daily Prime. It's kind of a celebration of Optimus Prime. And when the question went up about Best Optimus, a lot of people said, are we talking plastic representation or are we talking fiction? And I said all of it. I said, imagine that I am about an inch from your face. I'm staring you right in the eye, and I'm saying to you, Best Optimus. What is your knee-jerk answer? What is your immediate reply response? And the voting was really, really interesting. This is a celebration of one of the most celebrated characters in Transformers lore. This is a celebration of a character known the world over. This is a celebration of everything Optimus Prime. And we're going to kick things off with the honorable mentions first. The first honorable mention that I want to give is to actually Optimus Primal. He got some votes, and I'm not really sure why, because he is a completely separate character. Now, a descendant of Optimus Prime, and some people said, yeah, but originally the intention was that he was going to be Optimus Prime now with the gorilla body, so that's why he got the votes. And some people said, well, in a way he was sort of Optimus Prime for a little while because he took Optimus's matrix in his body when he became Optimal Optimus. And I understand all of those arguments, but I do sort of think that he is, like, because he's debatable as an Optimus, while I think he deserves an honorable mention, I don't think he necessarily deserves a slot in this particular countdown. Other honorable mentions include the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime / studio series, I think it's 38. Some people voted for the way he was in the film itself. Some people voted for the studio series iteration of him. The Revenge of the Fallen, Optimus Prime, specifically Buster Prime. And I get that that was a tremendous, tremendous offering. Fall of Cybertron, Optimus Prime, MP01, and G2 Laser Prime. They were all honorable mentions. None of them made the actual list. So who did? What we're about to do is we always do and kick things off with number 10 of first. And that's right, coming in at number 10 we have Armada Optimus Prime. Definitely not one of my favorites. A couple of the votes specifically were given for Bendy Prime. A couple were given for the large one that combines with his trailer. And a couple were just for the fiction. So they all got kind of amalgamated together. And there were enough votes for what a lot of people saw as the kind of strongest, most, I don't want to say brutal, but the most fearsome, we'll say, version of Optimus Prime. There's an argument to be made for it. He's not my favorite Optimus Prime by any stretch of the imagination, but he is for enough people that he was able to secure enough votes to come in at the number 10 slot. And yeah, at number 9 we have a fan favorite with MP10. I reviewed the oversized Wei Jiang version, and I was so built up so high for it, and I was disappointed. I wasn't a fan. I didn't really like the transformation, and I didn't like the limitation of the shoulder only being able to go out 30 degrees maybe a little bit more. You can get a little bit more if you pull that hinge out. However, That being said, this has nothing to do with my personal thoughts. This is the way the votes went. And a lot of people said, look, it is a quintessential Optimus Prime. When you see him, you know it's Optimus Prime. When you think of Optimus Prime, he may very well be the first image that comes to mind. It is a popularized mold, loved the world over, used multiple times. There is no mistaking its definitiveness and how it has been a champion of being a definitive Optimus Prime for so many years. Whether I like it or not, I can't argue with that logic. And he definitely, easily took enough votes to come in at the number 9 slot. That's right, number 8 is Siege Optimus Prime. Now, some people said Siege based on the fiction because he's young and only learning to be a leader, but more people said, I loved the transformation in his plastic representation. That was a tremendously well done Voyager, and I can't argue it. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the truck mode. And granted, I did a mod on mine, but in all honesty, the transformation is really good. Some people complain about the kibble on the back, but you know, you can just pop that off. Like, that's just a mushroom peg. Just saying. I don't think that that's a valid complaint. The under the arm kibble, maybe a little more so. Though I do kind of like and use his like under slung parts as like kind of Gatling gun things. The biceps and the shoulders are perfect. His articulation is stupendous, and I like the way that the tires hide. And enough people thought along the same lines that Siege Optimus Prime was able to score himself the number 8 slot. And that's right, man. Number 7 is hands down one of the best Optimus Primes ever done. I was lucky enough to review this guy myself a while ago. I don't own it, but man, oh man. Going back to RID 2001, some would say car robots, whatever you want to call it, man. Such a tremendous Optimus Prime. Great vehicle mode, hefty plastic, the transformation is fun. It is a bit different than what we know Optimus to be, but the articulation is there, the transformation is there. It embodies the leader of the Autobots. It can even combine with Ultra Magnus. There is very little not to be impressed about with that Optimus Prime. Honestly, he was and still is to this day, some 20 years later, stupendous and easily one of the best Optimus Primes, one of the best Transformers that was ever released. And for that reason, he took the number 7 slot. Oh yeah, boy, coming in at number 6 is Power Master Optimus Prime, who I counted different than God Ginrai, or God Jinrai, depending on how you pronounce it. And a lot of people specifically voted for Power Master Optimus Prime, and I get it, because God Ginrai is, or Ginrai even, is, like, he's different, right? It's a different character in the spirit of Optimus Prime, but Power Master Optimus Prime in North America was actually Optimus Prime upgraded. I had G1 Optimus Prime as a lad, and I was playing with him outside, and I broke his legs off. And then I had Power Master Optimus Prime, and he was my Optimus Prime for years upon years upon years afterward. Whether we're talking about the hefty chunk that was the G1 Power Master, or whether we're talking about the Titan's Return Power Master Optimus Prime, both are pretty great, pretty tremendous versions of that hefty, upgraded, bigger, kind of larger than life Optimus Prime. Love the guy, even to this day, and so did enough fans that he was able to take the number 6 slot. Oh, and here at the, hold on, where are we, what is it? Listen closely. That's right, we're at the halfway mark. We have a version of Optimus Prime from the Unicron trilogy, and you know me, I don't like Unicron trilogy, but I'm not gonna lie, the Cybertron / Galaxy Force Optimus Prime is tremendous. Much like the RID 2001 version, this one was ahead of its time, and it still stands the test of time today as fantastic. Now, some people, when they voted for this, voted for the more recent War for Cybertron trilogy iteration of that Optimus, and I get it, that was a great Optimus too. Some people went to the fiction and liked the fiction. I get it. That was a great Optimus too. I'm not a Unicron trilogy guy, but if there's a character within the Unicron trilogy that I like, it would be Cybertron / Galaxy Force Optimus Prime. It's amazing to me how we had the tremendous RID 2001, and we had the tremendous Cybertron, and sandwiched in between that was the Armada. And while some people look on it fondly, I mean, he made the list. I didn't. If you saw my review, I did not like the big Armada lad. He looks the part, but man, oh man, not a fan. Just saying. Just saying. But I don't need to be, because this time at number 5, very, very fitting. I think that it makes perfect sense that Cybertron Optimus Prime made the list, because he is, was, and probably ever will be just that fantastic. Coming in at number 4 is a personal favorite of mine, and obviously a personal favorite of a lot of people, because it is, of course, that animated Optimus Prime. A lot of people said, look, it was a completely different sort of take on Optimus, where he was very young, where he wasn't the ultimate leader that we know him to be, where we saw him grow as a leader, and we saw that kind of character arc, and a lot of people liked that. We saw that Magnus was, you know, not only a leader, but it was a title that was bestowed. There was so much depth to this version of Optimus Prime, and a lot of people liked kind of growing with that character. As for the plastic representations, look, Voyager class animated Optimus Prime. No more needs to be said. That thing, again, was and is far ahead of its time. Absolutely stupendous. Even now, some 13, 14 years later, really, really a line that gets underrated, a fiction that gets underrated. But those that do love it are vehement about it and are somewhat of like a cult following for it. And enough people remember Optimus from animated so very fondly as I do that he was able to score enough votes to take the number 4 slot. And that only leaves us with the top 3. And was there really any doubt that Transformers Prime Optimus Prime was going to be on this list? He is again voiced by Peter Cullen. He is considered a father figure. He is considered an older, wiser leader. He is considered brave and strong and capable. He is considered to be one of the best Optimuses going. A lot of people say the best Optimus since G1. That's a big claim. Of course, the legendary Peter Cullen helps that a lot. Some people specifically said they like the Beast Hunters version of that Optimus, and you know what? I can't argue with you, because the way he looked in the fiction looked even more traditional Optimus Prime-ish, and the way he was released in plastic was just fun, hefty, bulky. He was tremendous. He was a great offering of Optimus Prime. Still fun to this very day. Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime, one of the most quintessential versions of the Autobot leader that we've ever had, and he scored enough votes to come in at the number 3 slot. Number 2 was a little bit of a surprise, but number 2 was the Earthrise Optimus Prime. A lot of people have said, look, it's in the main line, in the modern main line, that's it. That's a quintessential mainline Optimus Prime. There's nothing else to do. If you got the Centurion pack that adds the axe and the bigger blaster and roller, wonderful. If you got the like non-F upgrade kit for it that kind of adds those same things, wonderful. He comes with a matrix. I mean, there's nothing, honestly, about the only way that you could improve on that Optimus is if you made the biceps red, and if you kind of used the lower legs that were on Siege where you folded the tires in. Because in robot mode you don't really see the tires. But honestly, I don't see a way to really improve on a mainline quintessential Optimus Prime. And a lot of people shared that exact same opinion, and for that very reason he took the number 2 slot, and that only leaves us with 1. And we all knew that 1 was going to be G1, right? The votes for G1 Optimus Prime were kind of equally split between his plastic and die cast release way back in what, 84, along with those rubber tires, man, as well as the way he was in G1 fiction, whether it was the comics or the cartoons. G1 Optimus Prime, I mean, it's quintessential. He's the Optimus that started all. He's the Optimus that a generation, maybe even more than a generation, maybe a couple of generations, grew up with. And every other version of Optimus Prime that has ever come along since has had to measure up to that. There's your meter stick. There's your measuring stick. There's the bar being set that everybody else has to live up to. When you are the version that sets the bar, then you have to come in at at number 1. And there you have it, man. 10 down to 1 in celebration of Optimus Prime and the Daily Prime, a year's worth of the Daily Prime. We may do a version of top 10 primes, because that's a different question than top 10 Optimus Primes. Who else got some votes that didn't appear on this? AOE, the Age of Extinction Optimus, Evasion Mode Optimus Prime got some votes. The 20th Anniversary Optimus Prime, he got some votes. Star Convoy got some votes. Perfect Effects DX, is it DX1? 01, he got a vote, which is really like a G2 Optimus. Who else did we have here? KBB's MP10V, he got some votes. The Ghostbusters MP10 version. God Ginrai, the Energon version got a vote. The RID 2015 version, which arguably could be considered the Prime version, he got a couple of votes. The Cyberverse Deluxe Optimus Prime got some votes. Let's see, who else got some votes here? The Classics Optimus Prime got some votes. And we'll throw one more in here if we can find one more that sort of fits. Combiner Wars Ultra Prime, the combined mode of Optimus Prime, and I think it was Mirage and Sunstreaker and Ironhide and Prowl, which is kind of an homage really to Energon Optimus Prime. So it's those and so many more options. So many Optimus Primes, so little time. But to top them all is the bar that they're all measured by, G1. Thanks for coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube. Become a channel member, baby. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us. I don't know if I already said that or not, because I'm trying to fly through everything. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old fashioned, baby, right here inside the videos.